The morning air carried that faint scent of rain that never quite falls. I stood outside the mirrored glass of the building, watching people stream in with resumes clutched like lifelines. A small smile tugged at my lips. Today was our open recruitment day, the day I always enjoyed most, because it reminded me of how far I had come. I wore no badge, no suit jacket, just a plain shirt and quiet confidence. To the crowd, I looked like anyone else. Maybe a job seeker, maybe a passerby. That anonymity suited me. Across the plaza, a woman approached with a stride I knew instantly. Years folded in on themselves. Back at university, she had been the loudest voice in every room, quick with a laugh that cut sharper than she knew. Her name was Clara. We'd once shared a project group until the day she dismissed my ideas with a wave of her hand and a sneer about how someone like me would never amount to much. I remembered the sting of it, though I'd buried it under years of late nights and early mornings, building something she could never have imagined. She spotted me before I could decide whether to turn away. Her eyes narrowed, then widened in recognition, and that same old laughter bubbled up. "Well, look at this," she said, her voice carrying so the nearby applicants could hear. "You? Waiting for a job here? This company isn't looking for your kind. You're not needed here." She let the words dangle like bait, a crooked smile on her lips. A few people glanced our way, unsure whether to laugh or pity. I only nodded, a silent acknowledgement that gave nothing back. Clara brushed past me, her heels clicking against the marble of the lobby, her perfume trailing like a flag of victory. I followed a few minutes later, letting the crowd swallow me until I slipped behind the door marked private. There, the familiar hum of my staff greeted me, the quiet confidence of people who knew their roles. My assistant handed me the day's schedule, eyes twinkling. "She doesn't know, does she?" he whispered. I shook my head. "Not yet." When her name came up, I was already seated at the head of the long oak table, the company's emblem shining on the wall behind me. The door opened. Clara stepped in, still mid-sentence with the recruiter, but her words died when she saw me. For a heartbeat, the room held its breath. Her eyes darted from my face to the nameplate in front of me, Chief Executive Officer, and back again. The confidence she wore outside crumbled like dry clay. "Please," I said, keeping my tone smooth. "Have a seat." She lowered herself into the chair opposite me, hands suddenly restless, her practiced smile faltering. I asked the usual questions: her experience, her vision, her thoughts on leadership. She answered in a voice a shade too high, stumbling over phrases she'd rehearsed. The power had shifted, and she felt it with every syllable. When she finished, silence settled like a heavy curtain. I leaned forward, fingers steepled. "Clara," I began, letting her name hang in the air. "We went to university together. Do you remember?" Her nod was barely perceptible. "I remember too," I continued. "I remember the laughter, the words you spoke outside this very building today, and years ago her cheeks flushed a deep crimson. I kept my voice calm, almost gentle. This company was built on respect, on lifting people, not tearing them down. Talent matters, yes, but character matters more. I let the weight of that sink in. I can't offer you a position here." "Not today." For a moment I saw something flicker in her eyes. Regret, maybe, or the sharp recognition of a lesson long overdue. She started to speak, but I raised a hand and the words dissolved on her tongue. "The interview is over," I said quietly. She gathered her papers with trembling fingers and rose without meeting my gaze. As she reached the door, I added, "Clara, success is the best answer. I hope you find yours." She paused, just a fraction of a second, then left, the click of her heels softer than when she'd arrived. When the door closed, I sat back and exhaled. There was no rush of triumph, no cruel satisfaction, only a steady sense of balance restored. My revenge wasn't in sharp words or dramatic gestures. Sometimes the most powerful victory is simply to succeed where someone once said you never could.